All right, we brought it home. This is the last video in this series, and in this conversation, all of the partners are together. We talk about what it's like to build in the Cardano ecosystem, how you manage expectations at the same time as you're accomplishing technology, and what we think the next few years of education might look like. Let's get into it. All right, good morning and good evening. We managed to get all of us together here to have this really closing conversation, but I think it's one of those every ending is a new beginning kind of things where I'm hoping that as this project launches and people experience it, that there'll be a lot more of these conversations, because one of the great benefits of this project has been collaboration with each other. And I know certainly that I have been enriched tremendously by learning from each of you. And I'm hoping that that dialogue continues collectively, not just in this group, but also in the larger Cardano community. So the first thing I want to do is really appreciate each of you for the time that you have contributed to this project and for all of your insights along the way. And I have a list of questions so that we can be a little structured about it, but I hope that we get into some very real-time explanations of things that are going on. And so I just want to ask to start off, and all these questions are to all of you and for each who wants to answer, and you guys can just sort of take your turns with it. But in the building of these platforms, you all have released new things through the time that I've been talking with you over the past 4 to 6 months. What are some of the new things that are surprising you about how people are learning with these tools that you're giving them? And how is that inspiring some of the new decisions that you're making about the direction going forward?
I'll dive in if everyone's going to like play. It's like the Russian roulette sort of thing. Everyone's who's going to shoot first.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, it's been an awesome journey, and it continues to be an awesome and exciting journey every time that I get on a call with Mark or Stock Traders. Most people know him, and hear the next thing the devs are pushing out or the next exciting development with the AI tutor. It's just blowing me away. Probably the most exciting thing for me over the last sort of fortnight was getting students ready in school for their exams and their externally set tasks using the AI tutor. So they've been able to take this thing that was built to be a like crypto education enhancement and apply it to traditional education settings, where I'll just be like, all right, guys, it's revision this week. Like, give them a revision task, but I'm like, all right, you're going to take it in turns. You can have 10 minutes working with the AI tutor on things that you're struggling with. I'll just say, here's my laptop, go for it. They'll upload whatever it is, whether it's maths, whether it's science, whether it's languages, whatever. And just seeing them all just get into it. And it's like, they're sitting there as if they've got a personal tutor going through all of these things. Some of them, we've got a lot of Filipino students speaking like Tagalog, jumping between English and Tagalog to get better understanding of the things that they're working on. It just blows my mind. And then they're like, said, like, what is this whole thing about? Like, why have you built this tutor? I start telling them about Ollie, and then all of a sudden they're like, you're telling us like we can get paid to learn stuff? And they're like, why doesn't school do that? It's like, well, sweet, jump onto Ollie, start having a look. And all of a sudden the next day they're coming in telling me they've done 4, 5, 6 lessons, learning about their first Web3 encounters, whether it's Bitcoin, Cardano, wallets, DeFi, whatever it is. It's like, this is a brand new wave of people coming in that have never interacted with Web3, that through this mechanism, through this stuff that we're all putting together, our various education space like platforms, they're just like, they're able to sink their teeth into it, get started, and then really to see where the journey takes them. So it was like, you know, wasn't even trying to push crypto at them at all. And all of a sudden they've gone from like, yeah, maths homework to what the hell is Cardano? Like, it's, yeah, super cool.
James and Sheila.
We haven't released an educational type there. We've done stuff with you, but the stuff that we've improved in the last 6 months was really getting more to the masses. And so we're able to see a lot of the different avenues that people want to go down now, because they don't need to have that, you know, wall of like, oh, this is scary. What is blockchain? What is Web3? I don't have a wallet. I can't go and use your site. It's like, you just need an email and, you know, you can start rocking with our site now. So we've seen a lot more curiosity attacked of where people were really afraid before, and now we've got so many more mainstream people. I mean, just 2 days ago, I had a big romance author texting me on the side of like, okay, I get it now. I see how this can be like super addictive. I see how this can be like where all of my audience now is going to want to start, doing this and getting, certain assets. And she's like, yeah, you don't have to talk any of the scary words, but it facilitates all of this stuff that I've never been able to do with my audiences. And she was asking, if her amount of sales were normal. And I was like, well, look, this is Web3, who now owns your book, and you get to continuously market to them, which you don't get to do in a normal Web2 world. And so then she started learning all that of like, wait, explain to me about airdrops, explain to me about this, and just opens up people's minds of, different things that they can do in a marketing world that they've never, things that we don't learn in college in a marketing structure. And so I think that whole, human goal of staying curious and really, continuing to learn every day is being able to now be facilitated more, because we've made it a little bit more mainstream, but then it clicks into all the benefits of Web3. And like Nate's saying, everybody's going, oh, why didn't anybody tell me this before? This is great. So I think it's just opening it more to the masses is really helping.
Yeah, I think that concept of staying curious is what we're seeing as well. That's really well said. And one of the things we've noticed, because a lot of what we've been rolling out are the features that we're developing that kind of show that Andamio is not a learning management system, right? It's a protocol for connecting what you've learned to opportunities to join projects and collaborate. And as such, I think a lot of the biggest insights are actually coming from the educator side. So now that people can post a course that's connected to a project, and they realize, oh, I'm the person that validates that work is done, whether it's coursework or project contributions. We're having a lot of interesting conversations with people about the value of that system. Hey, I had to do all these on-chain transactions. And we say, that's exactly, let's think about the value of each of those, right? And in a big way, it's in a complementary relationship with the AI tools that Nate is talking about, right? At this point, it's easier than ever to learn known things, right? We can ask an agent to teach us in a way that is customized to each of our learning styles, known knowledge, and that's amazing. And what we're recognizing right now is that as people have this experience, all of us are learning what's inbounds, what does AI provide us. And now, kind of just like streaming music made people want vinyl records more, we're seeing that like this ability to interact with an AI agent is making us more aware of what we're missing out on, and we're seeking those opportunities to work with people. And that's kind of that's a big part of the conversations we're having about the slowness of attesting to somebody else's work, but the benefits of having done so, and the fact that we can now take those with us as cryptographic keys, right? That's a validator is a key that allows us to unlock new opportunities, just like my wallet keys are. And the fact that we can program these opportunities and give people a way to share with each other what they've done so that they can access the next opportunity or the next great relationship. It's been really exciting to see that come online.
Really good. What are some of the things in line with that have become more in focus for you as challenges that you need to solve, either because externally people are coming to you, like Nate, I know, James, I know Andamio has a lot of new partnerships forming that with groups that want to take advantage of sort of helping collections of people within their ecosystem learn. Nate, with this AI tutor, you are just really opening doors in all directions for people, even like the onboarding of students in your own classroom. So it's very local for you as well as global. And Sheila, we were just talking before we got on the call that you're going to major conferences. I know that stuff is sponsoring and participating in a lot of different larger events coming up where you're going to be exposed to people who are not as familiar. What are some of the problems that are becoming more familiar for you to be talking about with people in more of a mainstream environment? And what are the things, are those the same problems that are really important to you? Like we're all trying to accomplish something and that has brought us here because we are inspired. And also there are global or larger problems that need to be solved. What are some of those, and do they line up?
Who wants to go?
I was just trying to think of yeah, you go, James, jump in.
No, well, I mean, I think we're all, it's a juicy question and it's hard to answer in a short way, right? But like the pattern you're naming, we have this chance to solve like one level of technical problems. All of us have been here looking at this blockchain and saying, hey, we're pretty sure this is a tool that can help with some problems we've identified. And I mean, speaking for my team, but I would assume that the stuff and the Olympus teams can relate. We've been looking at technical problems first. How do we make this efficient enough to bring it live to people so that they can see it and have their own aha moments? Because when that happens, then they can say to us, wait a minute, can it also do this next thing? Right? Okay, wait a minute. I like what that did, but that's kind of expensive. And we're like, yeah, you're damn right, it's expensive. We gotta make that cheaper. That's why we're doing all this L2 research right now. So it's for me, the pattern is the thing. I'm not trying to like deflect the question, but it's really this pattern of how do we move from the technical development we've been doing for years now, all of us, to now coming out of our little caves, with our nerd glasses on, and the rest of your hair looks great. I just haven't had a haircut in years. Like like getting out there and talking to people about what we've done. It's a transition, right? And this is another place where I'm excited to be collaborating with everybody. Sheila, what resonates for you? Because I know you can't talk to people about smart contracts all the time, right? Yep. So like being able to work together to now communicate to broader and broader circles of stakeholders what we've built and why it's important. I think that's a really exciting step.
You learn to not say any of your nerd words, which is hard, right? Because all you do is sit around with your engineers, and it's like I am one of the few people on this call who's not a builder, right? And so I'm surrounded by the engineers, and that's the only way you can communicate. It's Nadia talking in German. That's the only way you can communicate to these other people is to talk smart contracts and talk L2s and talk wallets and chains and nodes and ordinals and different ways that we can do things faster and move to bridge to this. And it's like you put on a completely different hat when you go out to these conferences, because now we're not doing just Web3 conferences to gain more users, right? We are going to book fairs to talk to authors and publishers. We go to music shows and talk to artists and managers. We go and talk to directors. We go and talk to filmmakers, people that have never heard these words before, and you will scare them away so fast. And they just play dumb. They go, oh, that's a big word. I don't know what you're talking about. That went over my head. But you're sitting there going, no, but I can help you. All these people are literally starving. You get 1/100th of a penny every time your song is streamed. And that's if you've got like a good algorithm. Some of these people get 1/1000th of a penny every time their song is streamed. So, I mean, you can't even buy your dog food for that. It's like, it's insane. And then you're supposed to pay your whole band and your songwriters and all the extra people that get paid for one song creation. And so to be able to go to creators and say, hey, we want you to keep making your art because we need our culture to continue in 2025. And people are like, oh, it's so expensive. You know, the only way I make money is if I tour or if I sell t-shirts. And you're like, no, but the world needs your art. You know, your t-shirt's not going to be around in 200 years. Your songs still will. And so when you're able to take them something that is, you know, decay proof, like, you know, there's no way that even bit rot is going to happen to their songs when it's on the blockchain, you know, that they now can have a worldwide audience. They don't have to go and just, you know, gig at their local pubs to get their audience. They can have an instant worldwide audience that can use a worldwide currency to pay for their songs, and that they can actually sell their songs again, sell their CDs again, and make significant portions of this instead of the, you know, tiny percentages. It blows people's minds. They're like, whoa, that's exactly what we need. You know, and it's like, it's especially when you're like, we don't touch your rights. We're a platform. Come and sell. We want your culture to continue. We want you to continue educating our people. Keep making films, keep making documentaries. You know, people are like, it's, you know, it's not worth it. It cost me $4 million to make this documentary. And then you hope that it gets sold to streaming. Like, you can't like pre-sell these movies half the time because they have to be vetted once they're finished, right? So it's like, how can you even guarantee that you're going to make back what all the money you put into making your art? So yeah, it's an interesting conversations of how we have completely adapted. You know, we are simply a new file type. Like, you know, we do not say the words blockchain, we do not say the words crypto. And then a lot of people will go, well, that kind of sounds like blockchain. You're like, okay. And you're like, I can actually like use real words and explain the tech more. But, you know, most people are like, cool, like you can't pirate my art, you know, you can't steal my book, you can't steal my song. Great, right? Because that's half the battle that they face is everybody is putting their stuff up on the dark web instantly, because everything now is just one file on a central server somewhere that somebody's able to go and strip the DRM, you know, right click and download, and poof, Nadia's book is out there, right? And it's not fair. And they're not getting paid for this. And the fact that you can say, no, this is completely piracy protected, and, you know, your art gets to be protected now for in perpetuity of this, you know, way past, you know, your life cycle. It blows people's minds. And so I think, you know, we just keep having those conversations, and that's how, you know, all of this tech is going to continue and thrive. Is people then, I always use the example of like, we're probably on the Azure cloud right now for this web-based meeting, right? And we don't care, right? So it's like, we're going to get to the point where people are like, I just want to watch this movie. I don't care that it's on, you know, a certain blockchain. So isn't everything these days, right? We're going to get to the point where everybody assumes the way that everything is on the cloud these days, in the future, everything's going to be on the blockchain. And it's just, we're in that weird time right now. So it's like, us as builders, we have to be flexible to be able to talk the talk both ways. But it's getting there. And it is, you know, there's always, every single day you're like, okay, we need to make this easier to sell. You know, it's like, we need to make it to where you don't have to know how to go and take control of your wallet and then be able to put money into exchange and wait a week to get approved by that exchange. And, you know, where's the sell button, you know? So like those types of things, as you're talking to outside blockchain artists, it's like, okay, there is every single day a new technology thing, and people, oh, can I make a playlist? Can I put things in order? And you're like, yep, we'll put that on the roadmap. You know, it's like, as you do as a builder, right? Everything turns into like a 10-page long list of your roadmap. But yeah, it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. And people are much more receptive to it, but we do have to know how to talk the talk both ways.
I think James and Sheila summed it up really well. And I know we're mindful of time, but I guess my thing that I'll quickly just add on is just the accessibility and the excitement of people all around, because we are in this very exciting time where all of these new technologies are merging together, where we see the AI tidal wave coming through, the blockchain tidal wave coming through, the bull run tidal wave coming through, where all of a sudden there's all this new interest. So I guess like from a problem side of it, it's like, how do we get all this stuff out there fast enough? that's probably the biggest problem, I guess. For like, it's like, I want to throw another 10 people on this. I want to throw another 20 developers on this and get things happening faster, because right now it's just such a peak. Like all the stuff that's coming out from like Trump being a big Bitcoin supporter, we're getting all of these like people that were so against Bitcoin. Like every time I scroll through my feed, I'm seeing like, oh, this senator said this, or this government agency said that, and we're now getting rid of capital gains tax, and we're getting rid of this and all of, and it's like, man, how do we keep up? Because the people want information. The global population is hungry to figure out, am I too late? Can I still get in? How do I get in? And what do I do when I get in? Are these stocks? Do I have to wait for my broker to wake up the next day? What the heck is a wallet, and how do I get one? And like, where do I put my cards in there? Like, what is this whole space? So I think, yeah, there's so much demand coming in. And I think for all of us, it's about keeping up with demand, staying ahead, and being on the bleeding edge of development, because like that's what keeps us all moving. That's what keeps us excited. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. And yeah, what keeps you up at night, or get very early in the morning if it's Sheila, I think. And being on these sort of calls, because we're building in public, we're working together, we're like collaborating and just keeping to drive this space forward. So, yeah, very exciting times. So the problems at the moment are fun problems.
Yeah. It's too much demand, and everybody going, that sounds cool. Can you do this? And you're like, yep. You know, because that is the cool thing of the Cardano blockchain, and just, you know, blockchain in general, is like, it's endless possibilities, guys. You know, it's like, and we see that, right? We see that marketing side, and we see that developmental side. And so we're like, well, yeah, we could change the whole university system into this. We could change, you know, public schools into this. And that is what keeps you up at night, right? Because it's like every day is like tackling the like tiny percent that you can actually focus on. But it's like, we see the bigger picture of what can be done. And I think that's what's really exciting to all of us, you know, and that's why we continue to, you know, support the Cardano blockchain. It's such a cool, secure technological tool that really can change the world.
We see what can happen, and I agree with all of this, and would just add that I think for so many of the tools we're building, it's kind of this all at once moment that we're building towards, right? All of these tools actually make perfect sense once they're at scale, but we're building these things that haven't scaled yet, and therefore are kind of confusing to people. Why am I doing it that way? But if you just think about like music on stuff, for example, once all music is there, there's no better solution. Right. But how do we get to that point, right? Once universities are using the systems we're building, they make so much sense. But right now it feels a little bit like a parlor trick. And that's, so we're in this moment where like, we're starting to see that adoption. We're trying to keep up with it. And at the very same time, we're like, well, we don't want to drive adoption too fast because we got to get ready for it, right? Like, and because once it all happens, it happens all at once. And I think this has always been true about Cardano, is like, it's this gathering energy that all at once is going to go poof, and it's just going to suddenly be everywhere.
Yeah.
I resonate so much. And I've been thinking as we've been talking how like 5 years ago in the Cardano space, or 3 years ago, it was very like communal. It was very like, it's still communal and it's still inspiring. But at that time it was more like, we were sort of like a little tribe that had aspirations and ideas about things. And now there is this influx of people have built bridges. And so you open, it's like when a village opens itself to a wider population. And now you are in this process of balancing the stuff that you were thinking about and working on and the needs of that larger group that's coming in, and trying to like ebb and flow in that process without losing the anchor of the things that you understood in the beginning, and the demand that is coming, and the new interests that you're uncovering that you weren't expecting. That process is its own kind of education. I experienced that deeply in this project, where I was like, I was definitely going to do certain things certain ways. And then I talked to you guys. Technically, there's things. And then I'm also realizing that the things that Nadia thinks are like awesome and important are not necessarily like global needs. And the tempering of that desire to like do all the things that could be done is a really important process here, because otherwise you create a lot of things that take a lot of work in small teams, especially at this point in our growth, all of us. And your teams are way bigger than my team, but you max out the capacity for that team, and you've built things that aren't necessarily on the forefront of what will be adopted next, to put people in that process of finding something that they enjoy and then doing the next thing. So I really resonate with everything that was said there, and it's good to just have these conversations, because you really start to recognize those things that maybe you're not identifying as clearly on your own. I want to talk a little bit about human connection, because learning is such a human experience. Oral tradition, passing things down, getting together in groups, apprenticing a master. Like over time, how we learn has changed a lot. And then having the structure, like Nate, you're a teacher. James, you've been a teacher. I've had teachers. I've been a teacher anyway, but so there's a lot of structure in all of our lives, and also there's this sort of opportunity to do things differently. And so when you infuse technology into learning, a lot of times the feeling is, okay, well, if AI happens, people aren't going to talk to each other anymore, and then people will all, never leave their houses and be on the computer all day long. And there's this sense of loss of human connection, especially in learning environments. But, James, a lot of why Andamio has been built is community-driven learning and learning with the end in mind. Nate, you're all about accessibility and inclusivity, and your whole mission was to make things available for people all over. We talked a lot about that. Sheila, you're empowering people to make their art and share it with each other. So I'm just interested in some of your perspectives on the human connection and learning, and how what we're building here will actually potentially increase that, and what you're seeing happen already.
Well, I think it's about enhancing the experience, right? So I'm a school teacher currently. I'm in the classroom currently, and everything I'm building is to enhance the ability of the students in the classroom and around the world to get more out of their learning experiences and enhance their educational outcomes. So it's not about replacing for me, it's about enhancing. So you talk about having a one-to-one tutor, like, what, excuse me, try that again. First of all, a one-to-one tutor, you're paying $60 to $100 an hour. You've actually got to pay to get that person in the door. Then you got to figure out if you like them or not. And then hopefully they stick around long enough for you to finish learning everything you need from them. As if it's a university student, they might have an exam, they might go on holiday, they might graduate and go and do a job, and all of a sudden you lose them. So bringing in an experience that can enhance that and take away some of those negative sides of it is going to be massively progressive for the student. But that doesn't mean that they don't go to school anymore, because they still need an organizational system to show what they do need to learn, and they still need to learn how to be a functional member of society. So there's a lot of roles of the teacher that still are going to come into play. There's a lot of things that are transfer into your job after school that you learn at school, like showing up on time, wearing a uniform, how to speak with others, how to work as part of a team. So then you can add all of that sort of stuff to your learning experience, whether you're doing it online or in a book or wherever. So the human doesn't get cut out of it, but the human's role gets enhanced. And by being able to have that human interaction with someone when they have more time, this is something I've spoken about on a lot of Twitter spaces. The average teacher sees a class for 4 hours a week in high school. In that, you've got a 60-minute session each time. In that, you've got 32 students. And then you split that 60 minutes, you're going to lose about 10 to 15 minutes at the start, marking the role, getting the students in, getting them prepared, doing their first little learning experience, whatever that might be. And you're going to lose about 10 minutes at the other end of the lesson when you're doing your summaries, conclusions, packing up, making sure the room isn't a complete disaster for the next person to use it. That leaves you about half an hour. for 32 students to try and get around and give them one-on-one time. So that's 4 minutes, or sorry, 1 minute per student, 4 minutes per week, like 40 weeks a year, they're getting like 160 minutes of one-to-one human interaction. So by giving them some of these tools that we're developing, we're actually going to be able to enhance that time where the teacher doesn't get stuck. Like, I know sometimes I'll work with a kid for 10 minutes and I'm like, holy crap, I've still got another 31 students with their hands up. Like, how am I going to do that? So we can actually give that student that maybe could have been plodding along with the tutor that acceleration, and you can still work your way around the room and you can touch on something a bit more quickly and keep driving forward. It also will help to like give students that remediation or extension as they need it in real time. So rather than having to figure out all of that and spend more time maybe with your planning, more time with like various little like micro assessments or informal assessments, you can spend more time with them as a human and getting to know them better and their learning styles and things like that. So with all this stuff, although it is tech, although it is AI, they're similar to what James was saying about blockchain. It's a tool. And without tools, we never would have progressed as a society. If we said we're not going to build cars because it's going to take away the experience of riding horses with our friends to work, or whatever it was back in the good old days, like we never would have progressed as a society. So it's about learning how to use these tools around your human experience and drive yourself forward.
The story of like what new technologies are offering us is pretty well documented, right? We're aware of a story, and we're aware of like books that were written even before social media that documented a decline in the amount of time people spend with each other, right? And then social media sold us this myth that instead of sitting in the same room together, right, we could write messages back and forth. We know that the imperatives of that social media are to keep us engaged because our attention is being farmed. That story is well known. AI takes that story and just accelerates it, right? It tells us we don't need each other because all the knowledge and the way you need to hear it is right here. And that's all well and good, but it doesn't, we talked about society a few minutes ago. It doesn't stop society from existing, right? There's still a world of people who somehow need to coexist. And it's an important moment for everybody to kind of follow the narrative, right? Where does this narrative go if we continue to spend more and more time alone with robots who make us feel safe and never challenge us to step outside of that? And what's exciting is, you know, just going back to the music metaphor, like CDs were terrible, right? They were cheaper to produce, worse audio quality than vinyl, but they were shiny, and executives realized they could charge more for those than they could for vinyl, even though they were cheaper to produce. And so we kind of like bought that myth as, oh, I'll take the digital music, right? And it was only after the streaming came on board that we all said, whoa, wait a minute. There is something I lost here, right? And whether it was the tangible artifact or the sound quality, different people might have different reasons, but pushing past a certain point led people to recognize what they had lost. And I think social media was kind of like the CD moment, right? It like, we lost a lot of things there, but maybe not enough to like really ask what am I missing and what's the alternative? And maybe AI takes us far enough into that streaming moment where we're able to say, holy cow, okay, I understand that I can know everything, and damn, I need a hug right now.
Yeah.
Damn, I need to sit in the same room as some people debating a hard problem that can't be answered. And the simple fact is, people are already starving for that. They're going to be starving more for that. And how do we create systems that acknowledge what works about AI, while at the same time acknowledging what we've lost if we take it as the only internet, right? And I think what we now have are two internets, right? We have the Web 2 moving forward with AI, and we have these blockchain protocols over here. that can really provide a chance for the human connection to flourish. I 100%, I believe that is what's going to happen. I believe people are going to understand blockchain as a fundamentally slow, messy, but true, right, human kind of system that allows us to be able to talk about what we've done in that messy space of collaboration and really working together. And I hope that the tools we build kind of provide that counterbalance so that we can have a really rich palette of tools to be building experiences on, right? I get the knowledge I need, but I also am developing those priceless skills. And right, they're going to become more priceless. The fewer people that have the skills to work together, to talk to each other, the more valuable they're going to be. And hopefully, you know, just market forces will take over and drive more people to like learn how to talk to each other again. So I think I'm really optimistic that that's the direction we're going to be pushed. And I think it's a core narrative of blockchain moving forward, is how it's positioned as a kind of a counterbalance to what AI is driving forward.
Yeah, I love that. It was beautifully put. And I think blockchain allows that human element back in there, which is going to, you know, surprise a lot of people who don't understand the technology. But again, you go from like the creator's side. In a Web 2 world, you have no idea who owns your book, who has your music, right? You enter to the blockchain world, you now have direct contact with every verified fan who spent money to like consume your artist creations, right? So it's like it does enhance. So then let's use more blockchain tools. Let's do, you know, some community groups, and let's you know, tokenize those assets and say, now you can get into a fan group, come and talk to the artist, like come and, you know, have the artist actually address their known media. So I mean, blockchain does give you that humanizing asset back to it, because it takes away that Web 2 barrier of like, no idea who bought my stuff. You know, it could have been a whole bunch of bots, and it just, you know, told me I sold 10,000 albums. I don't know. No idea who, you know, and actually having, sorry, like consumption data, like you can see who not only owns your album, but who has listened to the whole thing, right? And so it's that whole next level of verified users, verified buyers. It's verified listeners, it's verified readers. You know, it's like, let's have a book club where we know everybody has read this book 10 times. We are crazy Harry Potter fans because we know how much each one of us has read this book, and it's on blockchain. The rest of the world knows how much we have read this, right? So I think it allows for, as much as it has advanced technology, blockchain has that beautiful aspect of being able to put the human side back in. And hopefully people like Nate, who have the power to shape and mold minds each day, hopefully teachers out there don't just use and show AI as a thing that's replacing, right? It's not where everybody's, oh, it's going to take these jobs, it's going to take these jobs, it's going to replace. The way that he described, you know, it's now an asset of like everything that Nate knows can now be this AI machine, and this student can have everything that Nate's teaching at 3 a.m, right? So it's enhancing everything that they're going to learn in his class instead of replacing. So it doesn't replace my teacher, but I'm now able to have my teacher 24 hours a day, right? And so the people who are teaching and able to really mold people's perception of AI these days need to show it as a way that it's giving you more time to be your creative selves, right? Yeah, you don't have to sit there and manually type out a contract anymore that's going to, you know, take 3 hours to do. It's like, done, got the contract done in 30 seconds. Let's now use that next 3 hours to actually work as a group and become other creative ideas as that group, instead of like, okay, we all sat at our computers for those 3 hours because we needed to like manually type words. So it's like, we just have to teach people, it's giving you the ability to have more time in the day to still create, to add to society, to enhance culture, to spread your ideas across the world instead of this scary thing that's, making us non-humans and replacing everything. It's like, no, it's giving you the chance to be human again. You just have to approach it that way instead of, throwing your hands up and being scared.
So much more time to have a beer with your mates if you can get that contract done in 30 seconds and jump down to the pub.
Exactly.
Efficiency, optimization, and then a couple of bicep curls.
Yes, exactly.
All right. You guys.
We should be teaching kids, things like how to make beer. There was a teacher in a school where I once worked, and she taught the kids how to make ethanol every year.
Oh, wow.
And every year there was one student who'd be like, "Wait, you just taught me how to make booze." She'd be like, "Shh." Yep.
Well, isn't that the case? Yeah, the experiential stuff is so good.
Yeah, exactly.
I could go on a tangent on that, but I'm not going to because we have a few minutes left. And I would like to ask you guys, so let's say someone who's watching this is an educator or loves to learn, or maybe wants to learn but doesn't partake in it because they don't know how to approach this. Or maybe a creator who feels stuck, like the people that you're talking about, Sheila. Let's say that you have encountered that person at a bus stop and their bus is pulling up, and you have to briefly tell them how they could get engaged. What's some things that they could do to just test the waters so that they can find that foothold to climb? What are some of the things that you would suggest for them? The bus is pulling up.
Yeah, I would say just come and buy a book. Come and buy, and then it walks them through the process. Come and experience, a way to actually support artists. And then if they are an artist, it's like just risk-free. Come, put your stuff out there. You reach the entire world all at once. So why not? It's literally risk-free. And there's only benefits. So just try. Be brave, be bold. All the typical advice that you give to people.
Were we talking about how to get them into crypto in general, or how to get them into what we're doing?
Yeah, so into what you're doing. What are the things you suggest? Because people may watch this in the future who are educators or who could make a course, who would like to learn with the tutor, who have a bunch of music that they'd like to share, who fill in the blank, right? So, but the path from, oh, that's a good idea, like we said, sounds good, to like, oh, I'm going to participate, is sometimes that very short decision is a lot longer than the rest of their experience, right? So just getting into there. So what is the path in for people to participate with you, Nate?
Yeah, well, I'd say like their success is equal to their motivation times their effort times their support plus curiosity. So whether it's education success, crypto success, whatever it is, they're going to need a certain element of motivation, and they're going to need something that pushes them along. For that learning and for that educational experience, that's where we build in the learn to earn and our gamification. So we give them a chance to get in without having to make any payments, without any risk, anything like that. They can just get in, start learning, start earning. So if you've got a financial motivation, like a psychological motivation, whatever it is, we give them that. They need the support of either the people around them or a supportive platform that they know is trustworthy and safe. So we give them that environment. We give them blockchain technology behind it so they can see authentic results. They can see everything that's happening, or the transactions. It's all trackable. And then obviously it's going to come down to their effort. So regardless of where you are and what you're doing, your effort is going to become the ultimate, or one of the massive driving factors for your success. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of curiosity in there, because if you don't have curiosity, then you can still achieve all of these things, but you're going to push yourself further because you're going to want to know that little bit more. So that's what Ollie's all built around. If you want to come in and start learning about Web3, finance, marketing, business skills, that's a great place to start. We give you the support you need. We help you with your motivation in a bunch of different ways. And then your curiosity drives you to see how far you're going to take it, how many chains you want to learn about, how many tools you want to learn about, how you want to optimize your life and take yourself from where you are to where you want to be.
Really good. So they need to just come find something they're interested and start learning. It's like really straightforward. Yeah, cool. James.
If I have just a minute at a bus stop with a teacher, I'm just going to tell them to be gentle with other humans, give a lot of love to other humans, and to be pissed off about broken systems. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really why I'm here, right? Like teachers have a tough deal. They have a very hard job, and they have forces that are pushed on them from far outside of their sphere of influence, right? And often the way that expresses itself is in distrust for other people. My principal's telling me to do this. Well, yeah, do you know what pressure's on the principal, right? As a principal, do I know what pressure's on this superintendent and this state legislator all the way up, right? And what we have the opportunity to do now is recognize that all of us are working in systems that are due for upgrades. And as such, we need to be more attentive to each other than ever. Try to cultivate trust where you can, right? Try to assume the best intentions in other people to the extent possible, and recognize that where you're experiencing tension is a symptom that our systems need to be improved. And if that message resonates, well, we have an open door, right? We're all sitting here right now defining new systems that are going to allow people to trust each other more and eventually collaborate better, be kinder to each other, take better care of each other, assume the best in each other. So that's ultimately where we are going. And I think more and more people are willing to question systems while assuming the best in each other. So I hope that we can continue going that direction.
I wish we had 5 more hours, because I feel like we would fill it with this conversation. And I hope that it continues often and a lot, because it is it's just a pleasure to collaborate with each of you. I appreciate you all so much. This is going to launch tomorrow. So today's June 5th. So it'll launch tomorrow. And people will really get to participate in it. And that's really a lot of what we've been talking about is I hope people go and get this workbook. I hope they take some courses. I hope they wander around and experience different experiences that they can have, and share it with other people, and share that journey, because that's really how things are created, is that we get passionate about something and we find other people we want to share it with. So that's what I've gotten to do here. I appreciate you all very much, and I look forward to seeing how this continues to evolve. So thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you too, Nadia.
Go back to building. Go back to building.
Thank you for bringing us all together. It's been a great experience.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Take care.
Hey, earlier in these conversations, we talked about doing some shared kind of standard setting, maybe building some SIPs and that kind of thing. And that's some work I hope still does happen in the months to come. So
For
I'm
sure.
excited to follow up on that. Might ask you to facilitate, Nadia.
Uh-oh. Okay. I like it. I think it's important. And I think that collaboration in this space is a really is like fertile soil. So for people who have that same desire, that's really a place, that's where it starts, right? And then we can build things based on what we're seeing, which is exactly what we're doing here. So awesome. Okay. Thank you guys. Take care. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you soon.